Now. Well, there's a lot of discussions. Hello, Eder.
Theos. He had hold of your soul from a long time back, seems like. You get what you needed from him?
I got an answer to an old question.
Those can be hard to come by. But maybe that's best. Forces you to find your own footing.
It would have been so nice if I died to the flames there.
You'll be feeling better soon then. Good. That's real good. You got it figured out what you're going to do about all that?
Yes.
Got a lot of people out there thinking they've been abandoned by their gods. There's not much that'll put the fear in you more than that. You can take my word for it. If it was in my power, and I know it's not, but if it was, I'd find a way to give them the courage to face it. Not because they think there's some god looking out for them, but because they've just got it in them. And after what you've been through, though, I'm sure you got your own ideas. Better make it good.
You sound almost like a worshipper of Galavin.
So much for Theos, then.
The membranes of Polygon's golden eyes sweep out and direct her as he gazes into the great machine.
Now you have a chance to set things right. Back to the proper order of things. It will take the Dyrwood generations to recover. But at least these souls will find their way back to the wheel, as it should be.
Victory looks good on you. There was a blur about your soul that lingers no more. Seems putting Theos to rest has given you some measure of inner peace. Of course, now you need to decide what to do with these trapped souls. So many hopes and dreams, all of them torn from the cycle and trapped for Wall knows how long. You could set them free, nowhere in particular. Just free to go Wall knows where. Think of how many new lives and new journeys could start this very moment. It's all in your hands. I know you are the right person to decide the fate of so many. You helped bring me closer to WoW, and I believe WoW delivered you to this moment, this decision. It has been an honor to be along for the journey.
Ah, the end of the road greets us at last. You fared well, Watcher. Better than any Watcher has right to. Seems you were afield in need of a flames cleansing. Would that my own trial had produced such an outcome. I had figured myself for the field all this time. But you were the field, and I the darkness. A lesson neither of Durance nor of Margaret. But with that trial's end, a new one begins. A god's trial. And I will stand in judgment without mercy.
Thanks, Durance.
Astounding. I always knew the Leaden Key stood for something big, but I didn't quite realize what I'd gotten myself into. And now,
Have a nice night, Forcer.
you're in the middle of something even bigger. The decision that will affect millions. This is beyond either of us. The certainty of the gods is a mercy. Power like this is a heavy burden. Just look at how it crushed Theos. Perhaps he was right to surrender it to Woodica.
Theos was wrong. It's your decision, of course, and whatever you decide, I'm glad our paths crossed in Killer Whale. Save here. Can we camp here? Yeah, just... let's take a nap before we do anything.
Hey.
As you approach the machine, the path underfoot suddenly changes to a cobbled road. If you hadn't expected visions like this already in Tyr Evron, you'd be tempted to believe that the machine had chucked you into it and deposited you in the middle of nowhere. The sun blazes overhead, and the rolling meadows and thick forests on either side of the road could be anywhere in Dyrwood. A shrill cackle turns your head. Standing next to you is a malnourished man clad in threadbare loincloth and manacle. His entire body is stripped with lash marks, and there are scarred pits where his nose and ears should be. He stinks of stale sweat and unwashed filth. You notice someone wandering down the road, but the figure's back is to you. The Scar Slave has no your attention for now.
You know something of quiet servitude, Watcher. Groveling and simpering before the gods whose aid you
It
need.
would be nice.
So that when they finally raise you to a place of power, you can seize what you desire. You have labored at the pleasure of others. That shriveled hag in Hadrit House, those preening soldiers with more taste for silk than steel, the wretched tribesmen playing out their fantasies of grandeur. And then you cowered and knelt before the gods themselves, begging one paltry favor and receiving riddles and visions in response. And now the gods give you orders and commands, even while you set out to fix what they cannot. Yet what have they offered you?
They offered us the means to stop Boudica and Theos. That's enough for me. 5 copper says he's about to sell you on his own agenda. Only Vale knows what that might be. If I were you, I would tell him the other gods offered us a dozen nubile lasses. See if he can match that and haggle from there. Given the breadth of the Iron Manacle, it's amazing that he can raise his bone-thin arm. But he does, and points the person walking the other way along the road.
The exiled queen is not an ungrateful patron.
You get a better look at the lone figure and realize that she's wearing robes tattered and singed, but fine nonetheless. On her head is a silhouette of broken ground. She continues walking, her pace slow but determined.
Finish the work Theos began. Strengthen Boudica with these souls and allow her to become the most powerful of all the gods, with you as her favored.
I've been working against Boudica this whole time. Why would she thank me now after I've defeated her most loyal servant? The ragged hole in Skian's face wrinkles with disgust. Loyal and weak, Theos proved his inner cuisine when he failed to anticipate you. A plan exposed is worse than none at all. But you have proven resourceful, equal to the schemes of gods. Boudica has a long memory, Watcher, for both friends and foes, and she keeps her oaths. What do you mean by her favorite? The recipient of Boudica's blessings. She has always had a place for mortals of particular merit. If you help her now, she will become the most powerful of all the gods, and you will be one who made her so. Think of the lifetimes of reward you would reap. Paulician steps towards Skian, equal parts madness and idiocy. Why would we form an alliance with one who has opposed us at every turn? Skian turns his flinty eyes on Paulician. So says your companion who's been abandoned by her own country. Do you really trust her to make alliances for you? Helping Boudica would mean that the secrets of the gods stay hidden. He rubs his hands together, his black eyes gleaming. Safely hidden, yes. From the violent overlords who would cease to fear the punishment in the next life. From the heavy-handed masters who would answer to no one. The world needs some schemes. Or are the souls of Kith so pure that you would snap the tenuous threads that bind society? And as unsavory as it sounds, there is wisdom in this. Alot rubs his chin. Remember the riots in Defiance Bay? What kind of madness would people like that reach without the confines and promise of the gods? The Skian takes a bundle at his feet and hefts the burden onto his back. I've explained the alternative, Watcher. Continue as a pawn of the gods or a partner of one. At the other end of the road, the figure stops. She turns her head just enough to look over her shoulder. Her face is mostly hidden, but one merciless eye peers at you from cheeks of rippled, scorched flesh. I won't help you.
You say that now, but when you're standing in front of the machine, considering the lifetimes and the powers that await you, we'll see what you do.
Kith are basically all the races, not all the like intelligent races. All these evils we have seen, going all the way back to Saints' War, that was all Boudica. Imagine if she was stronger on top of it all. Anyone else calling me from their godly place? Is a nice machine. Poke poke. With your companions bearing witness, you step up to the place where Theos once stood before his people long ago. The great machine lies in front of you, idle, ready. You have seen this machine and others like it in operation. You understand how it works. It is a device for directing souls. As a watcher, it would be a simple matter to influence that direction, though as big as the machine is, it may be the last thing you ever do. Speak the command to activate the machine. There is a shrieking of stone and grinding against stone as old cogs loosen and begging to turn. You have only moments before the souls will be sent into the other vein. This will be your only chance at redirecting them. So there is no option of becoming God yourself. Send souls back to the reincarnation cycle, return the souls to the bodies they were intended for, entropically disintegrate the souls, ending their existence, distribute the essence to existing souls in Durwood to strengthen them, allow the souls to pass through the vein to Voidica, disperse the souls to an unknown location. So this is Berath. This is the Sky Lady who wants them to be in the Hollowborn. Entropically disintegrate the souls. This is the Winter God, the god of entropy, and this is the Galavain. This is this is Voidica, and this is disperse the souls. This is a Whale. Whale is the god of mysteries. He wanted me to disperse the souls all over the place. No one knows what actually happens to them or where they go, so it's like mystery to everyone. I like the number 6 and I like the number 4. Because the 4 is basically what Eder was saying, that people will find the power within themselves suddenly, and not in the gods or anything. So it will pretty much be middle finger to the gods. Although it is what Galavain and the others wanted. So there is no middle finger to the gods option. Other than the 4. 4 is the most middle finger. And Whale is also giving a lot of middle finger with dispersing the souls to all over the place. Yeah, I like the 4 and 6 a lot as well. I need to do like super evil playthrough where we go with the 5. And all in general just break the shit wherever. Just be the evil mastermind, the absolute evil. So, do you guys want to vote on this? There should have been an option to absorb the souls yourself, become a next god, a new god. Forge a soul into nukes and send it to gods. Yeah. I'm gonna go with the 4. You close your eyes and expand your perception outward, taking in the immense totality of tens of thousands of souls orbiting the chamber. You grasp on the souls' tenets. You find yourself fighting to keep them all within your influence, and you can feel them slipping away from you as the machine gains speed. A brief moment comes when it feels as though you hold all of them at once, and their force is so great it feels as though they will tear you apart. In that moment, you dedicate your entire being to bending their orbit, channeling their flow in the new direction. I did save just before this.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up
I also
the
got the
swirling
achievement,
essence
beat
like
the game.
thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale, pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Dyrwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the essence gathered in Sun and Shadow was sent across Dyrwood to meld with and galvanize the souls of its people. In the days that followed, Dyrwoodans, confronting adversity and expecting to be at the mercy of their own weakness, instead found strength and the will to persevere. The aggrieved found themselves able to carry on after their losses. The desperate found new reasons to hope. And the new reasons to hope were many, for Weidwyn's legacy had come to an end after 15 years. Hollow births ceased in the Dyrwood, and a country that only days ago had seemed on the brink of collapse was suddenly on the path to a recovery, a fitter, more resilient country in the preferred image of the god of the hunt. Helia, who had expected the souls to be returned to the Hollowborn, was infuriated by your duplicity. The goddess of motherhood demanded new births in compensation, and made a bargain with Bereth to trade death for new life. The skies of Dyrwood darkened, blotted with swarms of birds and other winged creatures, called together to claim what the Sky Mother believed to be hers by right. For months, the people of Dyrwood were forced to stay under shelter for fear of the vicious, unexplained attacks from the sky. The incidents left entire villages decimated and littered the streets of Defiance Bay with corpses covered in 1,000 puncture wounds. Followers of Bereth have a saying that life is a debt all must pay in death, and their god is known to always collect what is owed. In breaking your word to Bereth, a debt was created. Souls were owed to the cycle, and the agents of the god of inevitability would not be refused. An epidemic of unexplained deaths struck Dyrwood in the days that followed the legacy. Most often, the dead would be travelers on the road, known to be a favorite target of Bereth's Pallid Knight, who exacts impossible tolls from those who have journeyed.
It's okay, those were the weak.
The elderly, too, seemed to pass on in alarming numbers. But just as often, the deaths appeared to strike randomly, and for no reason at all. Those who sensed the involvement of the twinned god dubbed the calamity Bereth's Price, supposing it a payment for the end of Weidwyn's legacy. Though you had killed Lord Radric in his throne room, so strong was his drive to rid his land of Eothasians that he returned to life as a death guard, a deathless crusader for his brutal cause. With the remains of his humanity stripped away, Radric came to see all the people of Gilded Vale as worshippers of Eothas, and one day he led his forces into the village personally to see them all purged from his lands. Gilded Vale was left a hollow shell, its buildings ruined, and its people slaughtered. Even travelers and would-be squatters knew better than to take refuge inside its borders. Lord Radric returned to Radric's Hold, where he remained, keeping eternal watch over his barren domain. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But order was soon re-established by the Knights of the Crucible, who, despite their depleted numbers, had gained favor in the public eye for their role in the unraveling of the conspiracy surrounding Weidwyn's legacy, and were quickly reinforced by returning forces from Fleetbreaker Castle. For the Knights, their resurgence marked a return to the tradition as well. Having seen firsthand the dangers presented by dabblers in animancy, the Order quickly abolished the practice internally, preferring the familiarity of their hammers and forges to the uncertainties of Essence and Adra. Their identity rediscovered, the knights suppressed their political aspirations and began once again to train their recruits in the art of blacksmithing.
The hero balance did hell of a job.
Post-revolutionary
Yeah,
ideals
exactly.
of Deerwood,
Exactly
and
that.
regaining the respect
At least this
of
one
its
is good.
citizens as a
I was
result.
thinking, is this all gonna
The
be...
destruction of the
Yeah,
machine
you ruined
atop
everything.
Caer Noaneth spelled the end of the reanimated corpses in Heritage Hill. Though at first few were willing to venture into the abandoned district, it was soon cleaned out and rebuilt. The district's horrors still fresh in people's minds. It would be some time before it was fully repopulated, but eventually the lure of cheap prime land would all but erase the memory. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an Animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay, and few Animancers survived the first day. Many Deerwoodans took the end of Widewind's legacy as a sign, both that the gods did not approve of Animancy, and that the purging of Animancers in Defiance Bay had been enough to satisfy them. In time, their rage would subside, and a number of surviving Animancers remained in and around Defiance Bay, often taking to the wilds to practice their science without repercussions. The fortress of Caed Nua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every Thane and Earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur.
See, I didn't ruin
After the
everything.
death of
That's
the
my
master
hope.
below, a strange quiet fell over the endless paths of Ad Nua. The attacks on the fortress above ceased, Ad Nua's silent titan the closest remaining thing to a master in its musty, forgotten passages. Pallegina had gone against the Duke's Bell's orders by inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfoth to accommodate the recovering Deerwooden market. With the Deerwood's people strengthened by the Watcher's gift of souls, the Vailian republics found themselves struggling to keep up with their new competitors. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Pallegina was banished from the republics for several years. After the southern forest of Erglonfoth opened to both the republics and the Deerwood, the Vailians found that the combined efforts of all three nations had created a robust trade network. The Duchessa of Biajepi granted Pallegina a pardon for her foresight,
Nice.
though it
We
took
did the right
many
thing.
years for her to regain the trust of her superiors and brothers in the Order. Haravius took his leave of the party and, after his first bath in years, returned to his nomadic lifestyle. With his homesickness expunged, he found renewed joy and tranquility in his wandering survey of the wilderness. For the first time in his life, he ventured beyond sight of the mountains of Erglonfoth. During his travels, he penned numerous journals and sketches detailing his travels through frozen tundra, searing desert, and tropical forests. Wherever he went, Haravius left behind stories of the Autumn Druid, a temperamental, one-eyed wise man of the forest, known to bring food to lost travelers, and unusual advice to anyone willing to ask him a question. Adair chose not to return home to Gilded Vale. Still most comfortable far from cities, he settled in Deerford, which, like many towns in the Deerwood, was beginning the slow process of rebuilding. Believing now that it was the obligation of Kith to be the leaders their gods had not, Adair was soon named mayor of the town, and under his guidance, Deerford soon began to prosper. He expelled the last of the Scanites from the area, and drew new settlers with the offer of land, a trick he had learned from someone he otherwise preferred to forget. With each passing day, Deerford would come to more closely resemble the Gilded Vale of Adair's childhood, the one worthy of its name. When the dust settled in sun and shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ix Arcanon, his former master. He saw where the Grandmaster had gone wrong, and he knew what he would do better. The secret of the gods would be preserved, and with it, the sanity and well-being of all Kith. He donned the remains of Theos's ceremonial garb, and prepared himself for the long and lonely task ahead. With the Watcher's goals accomplished, and his own vows fulfilled, Kanarua sailed back to Dakoa. His friends and family found him much changed, for a pall had fallen upon the man, smothering his former enthusiasm. Called before the Lore College, Kana told them of the pain the Engwithan legacy brought to the lands abroad. He insisted that a search for answers abroad could only fragment the Rawatai people, as it had done to the Dyrwood. His findings were met with much respect, and Kana Rua's voice came to be considered an influential one in the growing move towards Rawatai's isolation. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Dyrwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Dyrford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Dyrwood, and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance used Magrin's strength only until Theos had been cast from the world, and then swore off her influence entirely. Regret came to weigh heavily on his mind, and a man who had never previously lacked for words or opinions came to embrace silence and contemplation. He continued to wander, penniless and destitute, searching now not for the reason for his goddess's silence, but for a mechanism for revenge. The charred robes he continued to wear as a reminder that he had been burned by his goddess, and not just by the flames of the Godhammer. Sagani experienced the 4 months of her journey back to Masuk in vivid colors. She strove to memorize every moment of her final trip through the Dyrwood, Erglonfoth, the Valian Republics, and beyond, preparing to tell her village of what she had seen on her long journey. All of Masuk shared in her triumph, and she felt her pride and elation magnified by the joy of her village. Never again did she doubt the value of her sacrifices. After decades as a long hunter, Sagani finally became one of Masuk's most respected elders. She guided her community with wise counsel, and a generation after she finally passed, another huntress journeyed into the world to find her soul. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.
Enter the expansion. Nice. Such a good game. I also love endings like that, where you see the results of your doings in the game. So yeah, promising the gods things was probably not a good idea. It didn't go too well. Few Kickstarters, by the way. GG indeed. Just shows that the gods are pretty bullshit. Now time for the other endings. Yeah, let's see if the loader saves there. Let's try at least few of them. At least the ones that sound interesting. Like the Voidica option. I really want to see what that has to offer. I mean, it's like the evil option. So I definitely want to see what that's gonna be.
Of course.
The game hangs up for a moment when you click on this. Let's go. Allow the souls to pass through the vein to Voidica. That one should be interesting. Yeah, definitely.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale, pulsing glow of the machine
sure if I
that
can
set you on this
skip this.
path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness
Let me
slipping
try
away,
if I can skip this.
your last sight was of the machine, dark and
No, I
grim.
cannot do anything.
Then your eyes closed.
I cannot even
and
exit
sleep
from this, so we're gonna have to
welcomed
listen
you
to all
at
shit.
long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Dyrwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the goddess Woodica ultimately received the empowerment she had sought, albeit not in the manner she had expected. The swirling souls held captive in Sun and Shadow were swept into the great Adra pillar there, sent barreling down through the world's veins to places unknown to mortal sight. Though no word would reach your ears of their arrival, by the time you would return to Twin Elms, word had spread of a miracle on their burial isle, and pious Glenfathans were already streaming in from all over to observe the statue of Woodica there, its once broken crown, now fully restored. But for Dyrwood itself, the last hollow birth had come and gone, and the country celebrated the lifting of Widewind's legacy none the wiser as to what future costs its end might hold. Helia, who had expected the souls to be returned to the Hollowborn, was infuriated by your duplicity. The goddess of motherhood demanded new births in compensation, and made a bargain with Bereth to trade death for new life. The skies of Dyrwood darkened, blotted with swarms of
Quite a
birds
beach,
and
this
other
Halia.
winged creatures, called together to claim what the Sky Mother believed to be hers by right. For months, the people of Dyrwood were forced to stay under shelter for fear of the vicious, unexplained attacks from the sky. The incidents left entire villages decimated and littered the streets of Defiance Bay with corpses covered in 1,000 puncture wounds. It is said that Galawain is the enforcer of the guards, and is known to hunt down those who wrong them. To wrong Galawain, then, is truly to wake the beast, and the Father of Monsters took great umbrage at your broken promise to him. Along with Mogren and Abidan, Galawain embarked upon a more direct approach to claiming his quarry. In the months that followed, the frontier settlements of Dyrwood were inexplicably attacked by packs of beasts and monsters, suddenly organized and unafraid to approach Kith on their own land. Many such villages were all but destroyed by the time troops could be dispatched from local garrisons. Those that weren't destroyed by the beasts of Galawain often found themselves at the mercy of the fires of Mogren. A dry spell throughout Dyrwood led to a rash of forest fires on a scale not seen since the War of Black Trees, and many settlements paid the price for their proximity to the wilderness. In the cities, meanwhile, dabblers in animancy who had placed souls into golems and other moving vessels soon found that their creations had risen up against them. Such constructs terrorized their surroundings, killing indiscriminately and often in great numbers before being subdued. Followers of Bereth have a saying that life is a debt all must pay in death, and their god is known to always
yeah.
collect what is owed.
That's where it's gonna
In breaking
do it again. I'm just gonna close the thing there. Let's try a couple of the other options. Just reload the game. Hey, Milford. Pillars is actually updating now? No, it's not. It's just syncing the stuff. Well, let's try the whale option as well. It sounds actually fairly interesting as well. Scattering the souls, whoever knows where. I want to see that. Drank too much holiday vodka. Damn holiday. Yeah, no, yeah. I'll try that. Then it's time to make some food for my wife before she eats me alive. Yes, yes.
Sä teet vaan minulle ruokaa.
Yeah, you're waiting for me to make the food. That ending though, saying that it's time for a long journey, probably is a hint for expansion. We should probably try that as well, Night Basilisk. Or just check it on YouTube or something. Disperse the souls to an unknown location. We're gonna have to go through again the initial
At
part.
your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked
No,
the
I was
chamber
not.
and sent you
I
tumbling
was expecting
to the
them
ground.
to.
You freed the souls from their stasis.
Now that they've resurrected this game type,
Exhausted,
they're gonna
your
milk out
consciousness
as
slipping
much as
away.
possible from this.
Your last sight was of the machine.
I mean,
dark
it was
and
known
dark.
before the release that there's gonna be an
Then
expansion
your eyes closed
to the game,
and sleep.
and I'm
welcomed
sure
you at long last.
this is done well enough that
After
there's gonna
coming
be
to and
sequels as
searching
well.
for some time, you discovered
not
the route
directly
Theos used
into
to
this,
enter Sun and Shadow,
then some
and embarked
similar
on a
game
long and
in
arduous
another world.
ascent back
Although,
to the surface. You emerged
since they
in
already
Terra
have this
Evron
very,
after
very
days of
well
tunneling
established
through the
game world
rubble
now in this
Theos had
game,
left behind.
it would be a shame if
And when you
they
stepped into
didn't
the
do
daylight,
expansion
you were faced with a different
and
Deerwood than the one you had
sequels
left.
in the same world, but the other regions
At
like
your
the Wayland
direction,
Republics
the souls
or
of the
any of the
Hollow
other
Born, long
nice
lost to the people
areas
of
would be
Deerwood, were sent to a place
great.
or places unknown for reasons as mysterious as the god who suggested it. No sooner had the mystery of their whereabouts been solved than it was renewed. A new riddle for someone yet to be revealed, or perhaps for no one at all.
So how did you feel about the game?
For the people of
I
Deerwood,
really liked the game.
The question would linger as it always
Only
had, for even the truth
thing
is beyond belief.
that I was complaining today
One
already
day,
earlier
the
was
Hollow
that
Birds had stopped with his little explanation
most of
as
the
they had
side quests
started.
and especially the
For all
follower
their
quests
joy at the legacy's end,
kind of ended
Deerwoodans
in
would have to content themselves with their
very
own
meh
theories as
ways,
to the
and there was
how
like
and why
nothing,
of it all.
no closure or
But
anything. It was
perhaps
just
this was as well intended. Helia, who had expected the souls to be returned to the Hollowborn, was infuriated by your duplicity. The goddess of mother.
nope. The whale was not very interesting one. Let's try the entropy option as well. The unknown ending was definitely meh. Like I said, it was like, yeah, well, it is very unknown to everyone. Nobody knows. The end. I really like the ending I took. Other than the gods going all crazy and murdering everyone. That was kind of not the best part, but the main option was nice. If you destroy them, the legacy thing should continue on. Well, the legacy thing was because Theos was using these machines to grab the souls. Entropically disintegrate the souls, ending their existence.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle.
It's not very surprising,
There,
Knight, because
in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path,
the
long
Galawain
ago,
and they also were
you
like
summoned all your strength,
the
focusing on your
good
objective
gods, and these are not
blocking
so
out all
good
else.
gods.
With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the
We might
route
as well
Theos
try
used to enter
all
Sun
the
and Shadow,
options. I mean,
and
this is the
embarked on a
fourth
long
option, and there's two
arduous
more to
ascent
go, so might as well
back to the
check all of
surface.
them at this
You emerged
point.
in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind. And when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Dyrwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the thousands of souls gathered at the machine in Sun and Shadow were disintegrated, their essence scattered to the winds like a lifting fog, never again to find its way into the body of a living being. Though none in Dyrwood would ever know for certain what had become of the missing souls, many followers of the Beast of Winter were given visions of a mass exodus to a land of eternal peace, and solemn celebrations were held the following day among his faithful. The last hollow birth in Dyrwood was already in the past, and a new peace of mind had come, not just to the lost souls of the Hollowborn, but to all the people of Dyrwood. Helia, who had expected the souls to be returned to the Hollowborn,
That wasn't too bad option. With the souls going the land of peace and happiness. Well, that's like the final goal for the souls anyways. All souls will be ground into nothingness over time. So they just went where they would go anyways in the end. I just sped up the process a bit. But this one was pretty meh as well, definitely. Well, there's basically three gods tonight. It was the Galawain, the god of beasts and the hunt. Magran, the goddess of war and the fire. And then it was the Abudon, the golem of crafting and stuff. Was the three gods I chose. And they are mostly held as the good gods in this area. Although all of these gods are pretty bullshit and evil shits, to be honest. Send the soul back into reincarnation cycle.
at your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago,
Well,
you
it's
summoned
it's
all
only
your strength, focusing on
depends
your
from
objective
your viewpoint,
and blocking
really.
out all else. With a single concussive blast
What
that
is
rocked
good and
the
what is not.
chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant.
You should be able to skip
Then
parts of
your
this.
eyes closed, and
I really
sleep
think so.
welcomed you
If
at
you want to see all the
long
options, you should be able to just.
After
yes,
coming
yes,
to
yes.
and searching for some time, you
Go the
discovered
path you
the
want.
route Theos used to enter Sun
Or
and
have a button
Shadow,
down here. Just
and
click,
embarked
click.
on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged
I
in
cannot be the
Ter
only
Evron
one who
after
is doing
days
this.
of tunneling through
When they
the rubble
complete the game,
Theos had left
see all the
behind.
different options.
And when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Dyrwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the lost souls of the Hollowborn were funneled back into the churn of Bareth's wheel to find their way into new vessels and partake in the life they had been denied during Whitewind's legacy. Though parents of Hollowborn would remain just that, the end of Whitewind's legacy would bring about a spate of new, healthy births, with many of the infants bearing souls once meant for Hollowborn children. The natural cycle of life and death had been restored to Deerwood, and with it came a renewed faith in the providence of the gods.
Berath is also kind
Helia,
of good
who had
god.
expected the souls to be returned to the Hollowborn, was infuriated by your duplicity. The goddess of motherhood demanded new births in compensation, and made a bargain with Berath to
The Berath's option is not too bad either, since souls return to the cycle. But definitely, out of these options so far, the Galawain option has been definitely the best, since it strengthened the current people and still made a future better for everyone. These other stuff don't really fix anything. So this is the last one, the Hylia option. This will fix the Hollowborn.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument.
That is a
spinning
nice
to
way
life
to do
with
it, Nantos.
deafening resonance
Have an
and
option if
gathering
you have
up
seen
the
it already,
swirling essence like thread
so you don't
on a great
accidentally
spindle.
first time go
There,
skipping it.
in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on
Although
your
technically
objective
loading
and
this
blocking
game,
out
I've
all
not
else.
seen this before.
With a single concussive blast that
Since
rocked
this
the
is the
chamber
first time I
and
go
sent you
through this
tumbling
with
to
this
the
save file,
ground,
but it should
you
just
freed the
register this in
souls
the
from their stasis.
game files.
Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked
But the
on a
Hollowborn
long
are
and
already fixed and
arduous
existing
ascent
ones are
back
dead.
to the surface.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
You emerged
Most of
in
them are
Terra
dead,
Evron
Night
after days
This
of
option
tunneling through the
resurrects
rubble
very
Theos had
few,
left
well not
behind.
resurrects, but
And when you
brings the
stepped
soul
into
back
the
to very
daylight,
few of the
you were faced with a
Hollowborns,
different
because
Deerwood
majority
than
of
the one
them
you had left.
are dead, or monsters.
At your direction, the souls diverted
Or
by
dead
Theos
monsters.
were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of Hollowborn children woke to the cries of their infants and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands
Yep,
of
this
Hollowborn
is exactly
had
what I
died
meant.
during Wideone's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. It is said that Galawain is the enforcer of the gods, and is known to hunt down.
I don't think that's a good option either. I still think the Galawain option was the best out of the 6 options given to you. But anyways, that's Pillars of Eternity. Really damn good game. And I'm hoping there's expansion or a sequel some point, and we'll definitely stream that. But I think that's enough for me. It's getting late, my wife needs food. So I will be streaming tomorrow, but I have no idea what yet tomorrow. We might start something new. I might do indie dive, but we'll see. Gonna raid someone? No. Just go to sleep. I'll go to sleep and eat as well. So have a nice night, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow.